Hola! Today we're going to talk about verbos reflexivos, or reflexive verbs. Before we get into actually conjugating them and using them, we need to talk about what they are. They indicate things that you do yourself or things that you're doing to yourself. An example would be like, me lavo el pelo. I wash my hair. Because you're washing your own hair, this is something you do to yourself. You can recognize a reflexive verb in the infinitive form because it ends in se. An example would be lavarse, afeitarse. Okay, so these both end in se, so you know that they are considered a reflexive verb. When they're conjugated, they require a reflexive pronoun. This pronoun changes depending on the subject of your sentence. So in our examples, we have yo lavo el pelo. Yo is our subject here, and then tú, our subject here for penas el pelo. So the pronoun for yo would be me, so yo me lavo el pelo, I wash my hair, or tú te penas el pelo, you comb your hair. So because our subject is different, you can see that our pronouns are different. We'll get more into detail about reflexive verbs versus not reflexive verbs, but I do want to show some examples so you get a feeling for why these are used, okay? So on the left side, we're going to do some examples of reflexive verb usage, and then using the same verbs but not reflexive. So on the left, you can see here we have yo me lavo el pelo, I wash my hair, something that you do to yourself. Número uno on the other side, not reflexive. Yo lavo el carro, you're washing the car, that's not something you're doing to yourself. So it's not reflexive. Another example would be Juan se mira. Because we're using the reflexive pronoun here, it is indicating that Juan is looking at himself. As opposed to the not reflexive use, Juan mira a Maria, Juan looks at Maria. Another example, me llamo Alexis, or I call myself Alexis. We would actually loosely translate this to my name is Alexis, as opposed to the not reflexive, llamo a mis amigos, I call my friends. Okay, the last example, te bañas, or you bathe. And not reflexive, bañas al perro, you bathe the dog. Because you bathe yourself in this first example, it is reflexive and requires the pronoun. Because you're washing the dog, it's not reflexive, you're doing it to someone else. Alright, let's dive into our reflexive pronouns now. Probably already noticed the yo form is me. We have te, se, nos, os, and se. So these are what we are going to put before the conjugated verb. Okay, on the other side here, we are going to conjugate some verbs, okay? Now, first thing to remember, these are reflexive, so they have the se at the end, okay? You need to take the se off of the end and then look at the verb how it is, okay? So we have llamar. Please note that llamar is an AR verb, a regular AR verb. We're going to conjugate it like that. But first, let's not forget our pronoun. So this is where the se comes in. We're going to take this pronoun and we're going to put it before. But remember, for each subject, we have a different pronoun. So we have me, te, se, nos, os, se. All right, now we're going to take a look at llamar, right? To call, or llamar se, to call oneself. So we take our stem, so we drop our AR ending. So just regular present tense verb conjugations for this example. Cool thing about any verb now that you know, you can use it in any tense. You don't just have to use it in the present tense. We could use it in the imperfecto, the pretérito for some of the verbs. So we have me llamo, te llamas, se llama, nos llamamos, os llamáis, and se llaman. Pause it if you need more time. Okay, we're going to dive into ponerse, to put on, okay? Remember, first thing, we have a reflexive verb. It has the se at the end. So we're going to put our pronouns in first. Me, te, se, nos, os, se. Okay, next thing, we're going to take our stem drop our ER. Please note this is an ER verb, not an AR verb, so it's not exactly like llamarse, right? And then the other thing is you've learned how to conjugate a lot of these verbs, and you're going to forget some of them. This one happens to be an irregular yo form, okay? So it's actually me pongo. The rest of the verb is completely normal, so we're going to put our regular ER ending. So te pones, se pone, nos ponemos, os pones, and se ponen. Pause it if you need more time to write that one down. Okay, and then on to vestirse. So remember, once again, it is reflexive. We're going to drop the se, and we are then going to put our pronouns in. So me, te, se, nos, os, se. Now I threw this one in because you have a couple of these stem-changing verbs. And you'll notice on your notes I put that it's an E to I stem changer. Remember, with stem-changing verbs in the present tense, we also call these boot verbs because anything that falls in the boot is going to have that stem change, and anything that's not in the boot doesn't. So that means that for all of the ones in the boot, this E is going to change to an I in our stem. And then everything out of the I is going to keep the regular stem. And then we add our regular IR verb endings. So we have me visto, te vistes, se viste, nos vestimos, os vestís, and se visten. All right, time for some práctica. You have some sentences on your sheet. I would like you to use those verbs that are in parentheses. Remember what we talked about. Watch out for your stem changers. All right, adios.